So one of the first questions that I've been asked on my tour is always how much I've budgeted for. And I have to say that I personally have budgeted about £500 per calendar month to live on. I have to say in Europe though, however, I did stretch that quite a lot. However, here in Russia I'm trying to make up for it a little bit where things are slightly cheaper, and I'm sure in Asia it will be the same. Next question is often, what should you spend money on a bicycle tour? I followed most of Tom's advice from Tom's bicycle tours here. I spent money on what's practical, so a good sleeping bag. I spent money on a good tent. I have a good cooker. At the end of the day, these are the things that I'm going to need most and things. When it comes to clothing or anything else, keep it very basic. I basically cycle in whatever was in my cupboard. Nothing that I'm really carrying is specialised in that regard, just stuff that you can readily pick up. Where I did spend money, however, was on the most important piece of equipment, and that's the bicycle. At the end of the day, that's the thing that's actually making you do this tour, and it's worth spending the money on that piece of equipment. Following Tom's advice here, spend as much money as you possibly can afford on that piece of equipment. So here's my bike. I've once again followed Tom's advice here and went and saw Richard from Oxford Bike Works. I'm not going to go through all the details and specs on it. You can go and look up his site and find out specs and that. It's custom made for me and how I wanted it set up. But it's basically, it's a very basic bike. There's nothing really that special about it that you can actually see. However, the frame is Reynolds 525 tubing, steel tubing, which has a little bit of flex in it. It's a very good frame. Most important thing that I did spend money on was good wheels. If you're thinking that you can just go and pick something off the shelf and it will do, it may do if you're doing a 2-week cycle tour around Europe and you're packing quite light, but with the 40 kilos that I'm actually carrying, you want to have good wheels. I met a fellow traveller who'd done a bicycle tour a year ago, and he went out in standard wheels and he snapped spokes weekly. I haven't snapped one because I did spend money here. My wheels on this particular bike are made from Ross Spares. They're custom made, and so far I haven't had any problems there. As for the rest of the bike, you can see it's relatively simple. I've got V-brakes. I'm using most of the running equipment is stuff that's very standardized, 8-speed Shimano gears and things like that are just bomb-proof, that I won't have a problem with or need to replace. I have opted for the Brooks B17 saddle. Not very fun to break in, but once you have done that, I've never got any problems with chafing or anything like that, so highly recommend that. I'm carrying currently 4 bottle racks, and I'd say you would need that. I regularly, every single night that I'm camping, at least go through 4 bottles of water between cooking, drinking, and cooking the next morning before I can get water again. So well worth setting your bike up with as many of those as you can, or you feel you're going to need. However, I don't ride with all my bottles full. I normally fill up at the end of the day. I'm also carrying one of these bottles here that for my Primus cooker, carrying my fuel in it, and that's being held on with one of these Bike Buddy bottle racks. It's really great because it can clip in and out. I really love that fact. I don't have to remove the actual thing from the bottle rack. So well worth looking into one of those if you are carrying liquid fuel for your cooker or anything, just keeping outside of the bike. As it comes for racks for my panniers, I'm using Tubus racks. Once again, they're probably the best on the market. They're very bomb-proof. It's worth spending the money there. They're carrying a lot of weight. There's a lot of stress on them, and so I did spend money there. As I say, I've got basic shifters, and really everything on the bike is set up ready for not needing to be fixed if possible. One thing I would say though, that I regularly clean my bike and regularly do small maintenance bits all the time. As soon as I hear anything that even sounds slightly like it's loose or anything, I stop and fix it. And this has meant so far that this piece of equipment in 2 months has given me absolutely no problems. So once again, I can't stress enough to spend money where it's worth spending money. Okay, well, that's my bike, but thanks for watching again.